What's up, guys? Mr. SLIN here. I just got back from PAX West, and I'm telling myself, I'm like, this is gonna be the one take wonder. I'm gonna do this in one take. We're gonna record this. My suitcase is literally unpacked sitting over there, but I'm like, look, I haven't made a video in a couple days. I have to actually put one out there because I've been traveling. I was just in Seattle, so things have been kind of crazy, and I just got back, and I'm like, oh, I gotta make a video right now. So the topic today is actually, it's a little bit like story time. I just want to tell you guys how I got into casting. I saw some people posting comments asking how I got into it, so I'm gonna tell you guys, how I got into casting, how you can get into casting, and what I like about it and that kind of stuff. And the story time. So I actually got into casting in a really unintentional way. The way I got started in it was because I was actually a streamer. So I started streaming TF2 4 years ago, and at the time, 4 years ago, there were hardly any streamers that were actually streaming the game. There were people doing YouTube videos, obviously, that had been going on for quite some time. But as far as streaming goes, that was relatively new, and it hit TF2 pretty late. Probably because TF2, like, as a technological game that you need to stream, is actually pretty difficult to stream. It's a game that requires a lot of, like, CPU power. It's a CPU intensive game. And streaming is also a CPU intensive program to, like, all that stuff to run if you're running OBS or XSplit or any of those programs. So when you're recording, you actually find that when you're playing the game, it gets kind of laggy. Now I had just at like 4 years ago built this sick computer, and I wasn't even intending on streaming, but then I got into it. And as I learned more and more about streaming and how to set up my stream, I actually got my stream to look pretty damn good, if I say so myself. I was one of the few 720p 60 FPS streams at the time. And this was at a time when other people were streaming at 720p 30. There were hardly any partners that were streaming, and you needed partnership to get transcodes. So I was at a significant advantage there because I had transcodes on my channel, I was partnered, and I actually had a pretty good looking stream. So at the time, they were doing casts for different organizations. There were two major organizations in the world for TF2 casting. The first one for North America was called X Television. That was run by Jeff Eckstein. Super cool dude. The other one was Vanilla TF2. Vanilla TF2 was a website that had the news. Vanilla TV was the broadcast arm of that organization that did the European casting. So I never really got too involved in Vanilla TV, but XTV was something that I'd watched for some time. And the way XTV is it's not really like how TFTV is today. XTV was more of a community casting channel where sure, you had your top talent casting the invite games, but you also had a number of personalities casting lower level games. You had people that were casting Highlander and UGC and all different divisions of ESEA. So it was a really good organization at the time. And when TFTV sprung up, they were doing casting, and it was run by like basically the top people in the scene at the time. So you had your C-Bear, your DJC, your Bloodsire doing the casting, and your cameraman was Alex Van Camp, Lang. So Lang was he knew the most about the technology at the time. He was a great cameraman, and he also had all this like Node CG stuff in the background that made the stream look super spiffy. He kind of needed a backup cameraman to help do the camera work when he wasn't able to do it. And so I actually started out in the TFTV production stuff as a cameraman because I had my stream and I actually knew how to run a stream and I could make it look good. Now, the actual like production and making it look all fancy, I wasn't really able to do that, but it wasn't too difficult to run a stream. At the time, we didn't have all the fancy graphics and stuff. We just had some basic overlays, and then boom, you're in an STV server casting the match. And I played the game for some time, so it kind of helps when you're an observer to have decent game sense to know where to put the camera. I wasn't perfect, but I got the job done. And then that job later got passed down to different people. But the way I got into the camera work was just having my stream, and then it actually turned out that one of the casts they ended up needing. They actually had cameramen lined up for the cast, but they didn't have casters, and they needed someone to take over for a cast. So I just popped in. I was like, hey, I think I could do it. I run my own stream. Like, I think I could talk about the game. Hopped in there, did an awful job, and realized that casting is actually a lot harder than it looks. So between that and XTV, I was able to sort of just like work my way into casting by saying, hey, look, well, maybe I'm not so good at casting these invite matches, but I'll give it a shot. If you ever need a backup caster, hit me up. Meanwhile, I'll spend my time casting for ESEA Open and stuff like that on X Television. So X Television had two different channels, XTV1, XTV2, and through those two channels, they were able to publicize a lot of the TF2 matches at the time. A lot of matches that just wouldn't have gotten covered otherwise had it not been for guys like me and other volunteers that decided that, maybe we should put the spotlight on those games. So that's where I really got my start casting. When I did start getting into the casting, I realized that my casting was just really not up to snuff. I tend to mumble my words. My pacing is really off. There's like a ton of issues that I had. I was trying different things. For those of you guys who don't know, in casting, there's two different roles. There's play-by-play and there's color. Play-by-play is the guy who talks about like, he's running down the 50-yard line, the 40, the 30, touchdown. And the color guy tells you all the analysis and breaks it down for you and helps the audience understand what's happening in the game. Now, I wasn't a high enough level player to really do the analysis. I tried at it, but actually, when I watched back in the chat and stuff, people would always poke holes and be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This thing happened and Mr. SLIN didn't see it at all. So I tried my hand at play-by-play as well, but I tend to mumble my words. I had a really difficult time with play-by-play. But XTV was really forgiving in the sense that there weren't too many people watching, so it wasn't like a major event. ESCA LAN, you had to be perfect. And it also wasn't like, you weren't getting paid for it, it's just a volunteer thing. Living in the city. I love having sirens go by randomly while you're talking. So, I feel like it was really casual, a casual environment for me to start getting into casting. But when I realized that I needed to work up and get my skills better and better, I actually started saying, hey, look, why don't I just try some casting on my own personal channel? I run my own stream. If I'll just cast some matches here and there for fun, I'll do some analysis here and there for fun. You guys who've seen my stream might have seen me doing some of those casts. And I also put some of them up on YouTube as well. And actually, quite embarrassingly, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find some of my earliest casts from like 3-4 years ago. I'm like digging through my YouTube channel right now, and I believe some of them still have like 100 views on the video. Like you would put this video up there and no one would care about it at all. And yeah, you'd be lucky if you got, let's see, my very first cast that I have here on YouTube, I had 288 views on a ESEA I am Incognito Esports versus Bear Force
Uber
1.
Through the lobby, let's see if they will be able to stop it against this Chris. Here comes the Uber from Slips. Thank God he popped. Okay. Nice flashing from him. And able to save a lot of his players. Actually, Think and Melee going down. This looks like it's going to be it. No. There's only a level 1 sentry to defend the point, and Incognito Esports wins the match. 5-4, back and forth all game.
And I have a bunch of these other casts here. You guys can dig through my channel. I got I did some mostly intermediate casts. It looks like I did a couple invite casts here and there, and I had some good moments casting with a lot of casters that I look up to, like Pure and just a bunch of other random names. I've gotten chances to cast ever since then. I've worked my skills up, so I've actually had a chance to cast with Eckstein and Bloodsire and these names that I like saw when I was working my up casting. And I think that's kind of how you have to look at it. It's kind of like a skill, just like getting better at TF2 or anything else. You have to work your way up there, and you're gonna fail a lot. So if I were to recommend to any of you guys looking to get into casting, what you really need when you're practicing, what you really need when you're getting good at something, is a place where you can fail. A place where you can mess up a bunch of times, because you're going to mess up because you're just learning, right? So you can't just immediately hop on a cast and expect to be every word perfectly enunciated and no stuttering, no ifs or ums and that kind of stuff, and no fillers, and everything you say is just deeply insightful and hilarious, and the audience likes it. That's not going to happen, right? You just need to just do it over and over again and have a safe space for yourself, so that let's say you were a tightrope walker. You're not going to start at 50 stories up between two buildings. No, you're going to start like 10 feet off the ground, and if you fall, no one cares, no one gets hurt, that kind of thing. And I really look up to guys, or I don't know if I look up to, but I really am impressed by guys like Corn Pop, who are producing videos on their own channel. Maybe the videos aren't getting a lot of views, but he's been casting open matches all season long and really getting warmed up as far as casting goes, to just get to a point where he's like, hey, look, I've done this 100 times. Maybe I'm at a point where I can actually work my way up into something bigger and better. So that's what I recommend for you guys, is if you're looking to get started in casting, just start with your friends. Just start for yourself. The way I like to look at things nowadays is like, I watch back my own cast every time I do a cast, and if I am not happy with my own cast, or I'm not happy with a YouTube video that I put up, if I'm bored by my own content, chances are there's someone else in the world who's also bored by my content. So my goal whenever I make a video or whenever I do my cast is to be able to watch it back and go, hey, that was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed listening to myself. So, just start recording yourself. If you have a computer that can stream to a channel, either whether it's your personal channel or maybe if you're me, you do it like on an alternate channel that no one can figure out. So that way you can record there and you can watch back a live stream of it and go, oh, okay, this is where I need to improve, or I like this part of it. Let's do more of that kind of thing. So recording yourself is really important. If you can't stream, learn how to record YouTube videos. You don't need a lot of technology to be able to do that, but you can record yourself that way. Or at the very lowest end of the technology, you could just get your phone out, right? And just use the recording app and just record into your phone here and then listen back to it. So you don't need a high level computer, a supercomputer to be able to actually do this. You can just start working your way into it. When you get to the higher levels of casting anyways, you're not going to be doing the technology side of things. You're just casting. So the way our setup works for TF2, we're just a volunteer casting org. We have 2 casters in a Mumble server with a third guy who's the cameraman, and he'll operate the stream and operate the camera and the STV and stuff like that. So you don't even need to be able to stream. You just need to be able to talk and know what you're talking about and make an entertaining cast. So that's what I recommend for you guys. If you're interested in casting, you don't lose anything by getting started in it. It's free. So you can go to esca.net if you're a North American, or etf2l.org. Download some games off the website and just start casting over them and just say, well, what happened? What's the worst that can happen? Now, if there's other casters that you want to replicate, if you want to imitate other casters, if you want to compare your cast to other casters, what you can do is just grab a cast, do it, and then listen back to it, and then listen to what the pros are doing, I guess you can call it, and then kind of learn that way and say, like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? So for example, you could just go to Team Fortress TV, the stream, twitch.tv/Team Fortress TV, and mute the I-58 stream and just literally cast over I-58. I've done that a couple times myself already. You just cast over the I-58 cast and listen back to it, because you have all the camera angles that you need. Hopefully you have enough information in front of you where you can accurately cast what's going on. And there you go. You're off into the races. So that's what I recommend you guys start doing. As far as like actual practice, if it goes, the actual mechanics of casting, there's tons of resources online. For other games, like D-Man has a video that I really like. There's like other people like Achilleos who actually like mentor people on their streams. Tons of resources for you guys. And also you can look into things like vocal exercises and tongue twisters, and there's like a bunch of theater warm-up exercises that you can do, because in a way casting is a lot like theater, where if it's a YouTube video, you can record it over and over again, but if you're doing it live in one take, there's things you should do to make it so it's going to go well the first time. And obviously it's not going to be the first time, because the more you practice casting, it'll be your 1,000th time. It'll be your 100,000th time. Hopefully by your 100th cast, you'll be a lot better than you were on your first cast. So that's what I recommend for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Oh yeah, Team Fortress TV. So the way Team Fortress TV is doing it now, we're actually thinking of reviving the Team Fortress TV 2 channel. So on Team Fortress TV, you'll have your normal casters like Truck, Marxist, myself, going in there and casting. But then you'll have a TF2 2 channel, which will be for up-and-coming talent to cast lower-level games, like intermediate matches, maybe open matches. I'm not even sure about UGC, but at least intermediate matches. So that's a place where you could like have your big break or whatever, and then get people to sort of notice you as a caster. But again, just do what Corn Pop's doing and just start on your own. Whether or not someone's going to give you that opportunity, you're just going to put yourself out there and just start practicing. I think that's really admirable. So thank you guys for watching the video. And yeah, hope you get into casting. See you down the next one.